Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my show. In all the confusion, I totally forgot to come up with a name for my show. So for now, I'm just going to be calling each episode entry number and then whatever number. I'm really sorry, but the why I'm choosing entry, not episode, I'll say in a sec. Anyway, since this is my first show, everything I'm doing is kind of in the beta phase, so if you watch, please let me know about anything I can change. So video quality, audio quality, anything else you notice that kind of sucks and I should change, please let me know. Email me at clueless.sc@gmail.com. Otherwise, yeah, so the way this show is going to work is it's going to be hopefully 5 days a week. Every week is going to be a different. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. So Mondays is going to be. It's going to be a show that airs Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And then I'll have the dates posted on my Twitch TV bio account or whatever it's called. Hopefully, I'll be able to get it on my Team Liquid stream post, and yeah, also on my Team Liquid where they post my stream. And so on Mondays, I'm going to be looking at things in my play that I need to change. So I'm going to be looking at pro replays. I'm going to be looking at my replays, seeing obvious things where I'm doing stuff bad, and basically just kind of learning from the game for hopefully about an hour, and then yeah, just kind of looking at different timings, builds, although probably that less likely because I don't really like learning build orders, and things like that. And then after that, so on the other 4 days of the week, I'm going to be doing basically just trying to take what I learned on Monday and enact it in my play. So for about an hour each day, I'm going to be streaming. So if I'm practicing my mechanics, I'm going to be playing on ladder for an hour every single day at the same time, and just kind of try and work on my mechanics that entire week. And yeah, and so other than that, yeah, that's how the show is going to work. This week, I'm going to be working on TvZ, and this is going to be part of like a kind of series, I guess, for the next 3, maybe 4 weeks. I haven't checked my calendar yet. I'm going to be looking at each of my matchups, so TvZ, TvP. Next week is going to be TvP, and then the week after that is TvT, my worst matchup. Hopefully, I'll have enough time to do 2 weeks on TvT, just because I'm so bad at it. And so, yeah, I'm going to be doing TvZ this week. And so if you haven't looked at the title yet already, it's TvZ. Let me see the exact title I used, words I used. Using aggression to gain an economic lead. So StarCraft 2 is a economically focused game. I think everyone's heard a lot of casters talk about macro styles or builds or strategies and aggressive ones. And I think most people know what these two words mean and what the difference is, but I would like to quickly just come up with a definition for each that I've used, and kind of, I think if we define both words, it'll help us kind of hone our understanding on hone what we exactly want to learn and get out of our hour of learning. So macro, I've defined as gaining an economic lead on your opponent by having a stronger economy faster through increased worker production or more efficient resource collection. I read this off just because it's really important. I chose those words specifically. Yeah, and so now aggressive styles I've defined as gaining an economic lead by throwing a wrench in the economy of your opponent. So using force, so that your opponent has to spend money on defense instead of tech, or kill workers with harass, deny expos, so on. And so you'll kind of see like the difference. In macro, you're kind of defensive, you're holding back, and you're just like pumping out your economy, making it as strong as possible, as quickly as possible. Most openings that you see that are called macro style are fast expands, usually like getting up to three bases super quick, getting all your tech and upgrades and late game units as quickly as possible. Aggressive, however, and then just kind of staying in your base until you've got all your stuff, and then you push out and drill. Um, and then an aggressive style is usually defined as um, not real taking is kind of like the counter to the macro style, I suppose I'd call it, where you're constantly attacking, forcing your like really pushing the limits of your opponent's defenses, and just basically what I said in my definition, trying to like hamper your opponent's economy, which in turn, in rel- speaking in relativity, makes your economy better, even though you may not be pushing worker count or upgrades and that sort of stuff as much as your opponent is. So these are kind of like two styles that are on opposite ends of the spectrum, I would say. And then, of course, you can always kind of gradiate between the two. You can have a totally macro oriented game, or you can have a totally aggressive oriented style, and or you can just kind of like wax and wane between the two. One thing I would say, though, before we hop into the actual learning part, is what's called, like, some people call it the tweeny style of play. It's basically where you take aggressive and you take macro style of play and you go smack dab in the middle, and it's neither macro oriented nor aggressive oriented. It's kind of in the middle, and the idea is that you can kind of switch as the game progresses to either macro or to either aggressive oriented play. I think the problem with this style of thinking, though, is that later on, theoretically, you can switch, but in the here and in the like the moment you scout that your opponent is going macro oriented, you're gonna have a hard time catching up to him economically, or in the macro sense, because he's pushed his macro style more than you have, so you're behind in that sense. And by the time, usually the way timings work, by the time you have enough forces to be really aggressive and cause damage, he's already way ahead in defense, because he's pushed his economy more, so he's got more money to spend on defense. And so you're kind of caught in a rut, and you're not pushing an edge, I would say. So tweeny builds I would discourage from doing, just because they don't push an edge. Macro styles, I'm going to call them macro strategies, and aggressive strategies push an edge. So what did I want to say from here? So now we're getting into the actual learning aspect of this show, which is where I am going to now try to learn an aggressive style. So before we even go in and start looking at replays and looking at my replays, looking at pro replays, things like that, forum reading if you want to. I'm not going to do it here because that's boring, but if you want to, you can go onto Team Liquid forums or wherever and like look things up. But before you do any of that, it's really important to just stop and think about what you want to learn, what kind of aggressive style you want to learn, what you want to accomplish, why you think, when you watch an aggressive style, why you think it works as opposed to aggressive styles that don't work, and things like that. So I haven't really compiled a list so far, but I'd say the most important things before I start looking at replays is what kind of aggressive I already have a macro style build that I do against Zerg. It's called it's been coined the bomber style, and it's relatively old style. It has changed a little over the months that it's been around, but it still works pretty well, I think, against Zergs that do 2 bases and then start their aggression from there, and then get 2 bases, a layer, and then a third base after that. I suppose I should say. And I think it works really well against that, because this 2 base Zerg is trying to be aggressive, trying to cause you economic damage, and you're pumping your economy and your upgrades really hard, pushing those really hard, using siege tanks and heavily upgraded marines for defense. And then once you've got your 2/2 upgrades and a large enough army, you push out, take your 4th base, and start drilling your Zerg opponent. Start drilling them. But I've found lately, a lot of Zergs are going more for like going up to 3 bases as quickly as possible, and then doing their respective strategies of Mass Queen shenanigans, or Infestor stuff, or Mutalisk stuff. And so this, I've found just through experience that the bomber build has a hard time, the traditional macro-oriented bomber build has a hard time with this. And so what I want to do when I'm looking at these replays is, okay, I'm not going to be learning a new build order. Instead, what I want to do is, okay, think, how can I switch the bomber build around based on what I scout to become aggressive? So when I scout, I want to look for timings where I can do things rearrange things in my build slightly differently, so I'm more aggressively focused as opposed to more economically or macro focused. And so to do that, we need to look at timings when certain Zerg upgrades are finishing, when certain Terran upgrades are finishing that make Terran stronger at that exact time than Zerg. Times when Zerg is weak, which is basically just underlining what I just said, and things like that. So to do that, I'm first going to look at a replay by the STC. I believe he's on Quantic, the STC. Let me pull the replay up real quick before we do anything more. And it recently came from the DreamHack Valencia that happened this weekend. There it is. And basically what it is kind of, it's a replay of what most people think of when they hear aggressive style of play, where STC is just kind of pushing and hoping. I don't know if I would use the term hoping, but where he's pushing and trying to do damage, but the damage isn't necessarily focused in the way that we talked aggressive strategy should be, which is trying to hamper the economy of your opponent. All the that it's really doing is trying to cause damage. Ultimately, the SCC wins this game. However, I just wanted to bring it out as an underline to kind of show what most people consider to be just show what most people consider is a aggressive play. And then I'll show another replay where I'm looking at a style of play that I consider to be aggressive. Okay, so I'm sorry I don't have an overlay for this, but that's just the way life is going to have to be right now. We're just going to blast through the opening here. Times 8. Let's see if my encoder can handle this. Yeah, so this is kind of what some Terrans will do when they want to be sneaky. They'll hide a barracks here, and so when the Zerg comes in to scout around, they won't see a barracks in the main base, and they'll think, oh, is there some kind of proxy going around, and they'll start freaking out, maybe building preemptive Zerglings, or building a just preemptive defense. And yeah, but our Zerg Vortex here did not fall for it. So here STC is kind of scouting around. This is aggressive. Let me go back to that. This is aggressive Marine placement, I suppose. He's looking for. He already scouted earlier. This Overlord did some damage to it, and sometimes Zergs will send a second Overlord over this way. If you follow my mouse cursor, they'll send it over here and then kind of let it sit here-ish, and then at a certain time they'll kind of float the thing over. And so he's placing these Marines out here so as to try and find an Overlord. But Vortex has his Overlords placed relatively defensively, I guess for drops, but it's a little early for Overlords that are looking for drops. What else is happening here? He can do this because he doesn't have to worry. Zerglings are out, but Zergling speed is what makes Zerglings really dangerous against small number of Marines. So sorry. So these Marines are relatively safe walking out in here looking for an Overlord that they might be able to find. That isn't really aggressive in the sense that it's causing damage to Vortex. So here we have what I was talking about, the third before layer, and here STC, this is the kind of aggression I was talking about, where STC walks into the map. He builds a bunker. I'm not going to call this wrong or right. I don't think there's a wrong or a right in StarCraft. In fact, I think this is a pretty good move. And so the Marines are out here. They're going to try and deny this expansion, and then he's building a bunker just so that large number of Zerglings don't really hurt him. And a lot of Zergs have been going for this mass queen style. So this bunker helps protect the Marines against that. The reason STC can do this is because there's no metabolic boost or no Zergling speed yet. I don't actually know if he hasn't scouted his Zerg yet, so I don't like it in this sense because I'm personally not aware whether or not Zerg can get this early third up, and at what time Zerg, the earliest time, assuming this early third, that Zerg can get metabolic boost. Because the only timing I know of is that Zerg, if Zerg gets one gas and metabolic and the spawning pool and then the early third, and then stops mining gas at exactly 100, it takes it's up till like 7 minutes and 15 seconds, I believe, that he can. That's the early. I believe that's the early. No, that's not. 7:30. Yeah, I believe it's 7:30 that it's the earliest, assuming those conditions, that Zerg can have metabolic boosts. And where was I going with that? Basically what I'm trying to say is this attack is good because there's no metabolic boost, so Zerglings have a harder time surrounding Marines, so the Marines can kite them much more easily. However, I'm a little bit uncomfortable about this move by STC just because he never scouted. He never saw how many gases Vortex got. He never saw how many when the spawning pool was put down, and so he just doesn't know what Vortex is up to. Which this kind of move that STC is doing is kind of assuming that Vortex is taking this early third, this push out. And here's, in all that talk, I totally forgot about the Banshee. And so this is another kind of aggressive move. The Banshee this early in the game, even though he got an early expand, this Banshee plus the cloak is a commitment to especially the cloak, is a commitment to using banshees aggressively, and so he kind of has to do damage. Not bad or good. I should probably stop talking because I didn't really think about how much I like the Banshee, or how much I do or don't like the Banshee. So this is kind of like what you expect aggressive players to be doing. They're here at home. He's holed up. He's getting Hellions now, which is another aggressive group. But at this point, if you think back, I said, why would we want to get aggressive units, or what kind of if we're being aggressive, why are we being aggressive? Why is it good? Why is it bad? What are we trying to accomplish with our aggression? This Marine aggression I thought was good because he didn't have the Zerg didn't have metabolic boost yet. This Banshee, I wasn't sure how I felt about. We didn't know the queen count. A lot of Zergs have been going mass queen, so I have the feeling you have a hard time against mass queen with Banshees, even with cloak, because getting a spore crawler up is relatively easy for most Zerg builds these days. And this Hellion aggression, I don't know how much I like, because we've denied the third. At most, what we can do is deny creep spread here, but for that we don't need 7 Hellions, 7 plus Hellions, because he's probably going to be making more out of here. He is, it looks like, going mech, so that's good. So getting more Hellions, I suppose, is good in the sense that it feeds into our mech, but otherwise, putting them this far out in the map, other than denying creep spread and hopefully killing off Zerglings, I don't see much out of it. This bunker, so I'll talk more about that when we get into the next replay, about what you should be doing with these Marines. So yeah, and see, even with this many Hellions, the creep spread radius, I suppose, as in how much creeps spread there is, as opposed to how many queens or defensive units there are, is not very big. So the queens have an easy time kind of swinging around here if the Hellions come in, and the Hellions need to take a wider arc in order to harass or kill off these creep tumors. And queens, as everyone knows, are really good against Hellions. I think there's not really much more we need to really see out of this. You can see the SCC took his third. Can't comment on that because I only quickly breezed through this replay last night before going to bed. But I think for the most part we've kind of gotten everything out of the way. He's killing the rocks off. How he went aggressive to try and kill off, or his first act of aggression was here, the Marines. I said that was good. Then he had these he had 1 Banshee. Now he's got 3, which by the way is the kind of commitment you have to take if you're getting cloak. You have to create a lot of Banshees and have to do damage with them. Otherwise, in an equal match, you're behind because you committed to this kind of tech, the cloak and the Banshees, and didn't do anything with them, which in turn slows down how fast you can expand and how fast you can spend tech, how fast you can tech up into other trees or directions. And then there was the Hellions, which were okay. I think they didn't really do any damage. At most, they might have caused some Zerglings to be made, but otherwise the queens did a pretty good job of deflecting them, and they didn't kill any creep tumors. Yeah, so that is that for now. We're going to, I'm gonna open up a replay now of an aggressive player So Liquid Tasia, I believe Day 9 did something on him where he talked about Tasia's aggression, and that caught my interest. So I wanted to try and look at Tasia's aggression, not necessarily his build order, as I said before, but I wanted to look at how his style, what kind of or what he's doing that is good, what kind of aggression he's doing that is good. So let's pull up the replay here. It is here. Okay, so once again, when we go into this game, we want to kind of look at what we want to look at what is this the game I wanted? I hope it is. Why Tasia's aggression, what is different about it from STC's, particularly ask questions like why did he attack at this time, why is it good, maybe why is it bad, why would he do it, what is the Zerg doing that in turn makes it okay, I suppose, to attack, or better to attack. Yeah, so we're in the replay. Let's start it. So when I say aggressive, a lot of people also sometimes kind of think, on a side note while we're waiting for the opener to finish, a lot of people usually tend to think like one base, lots of barracks or banshees, which are starports. I mean, starports with tech lab upgrades on one base, and just kind of like all in is kind of the term most people use, all in or nothing. And that's not necessarily true. We see we saw from the SCC last game, for example, that he got a fast expand. He got the first barracks, and then he went for a pretty fast expand, and then he started going for aggression, trying to push his Zerg opponent back. So this is also kind of what I was talking about, the how macro and aggressive strategies kind of wax and wane between the two. Tasia, we just saw here, did the same thing SCC did, which is hide your barracks and then float it over or get a fast expand, just kind of trying to egg a reaction out of our opponent. Here we saw another move by Tasia, which I totally skipped, and so it's good, and so I'll skip ahead to it or go back to it. He takes his first Marine. First he kind of tries to kill off this guy, and maybe he was just trying to kill him off, but I'm pretty sure what he was attempting to do here is, with his very first Marines, try and cause some damage. He's already scouted, so he knows he's seen that there's no gas. He's seen the spawning pool. So what does that mean? Obviously no speed Zerglings. Probably doesn't have to worry about any kind of Baneling or Roach one base, or definitely doesn't have to worry about Baneling or Roach all in. He's seen the early expand. I believe from timings here you can see from drone count as well as from how ahead this expansion is, that it is a hatchery before spawning pool, which delays speed even more because you're spending minerals on the expansion as opposed to the Vespene Geyser, or as opposed to on getting a extractor. So this Marine push is good because at the very least he can egg out a reaction. Maybe he can kind of maybe kill a drone, but now he's gone in, he's seen that the spawning, he pulls back here, he's seen that the spawning pool is finished. He can't go in here with just one Marine and one SCV, because most Zergs get 6 Zerglings right off the bat when the spawning pool finishes. So this is more like trying to get a reaction, maybe making your opponent think, if they didn't scout this early base, that you're going 2-Rex aggression or something like that. And it's just kind of a smart move in that sense. So yeah, nothing important really happening, or nothing that I want to talk about happening here. We see TvZ, so maybe it could be, again I'm not sure because I'm only a Diamond Leaguer, but I believe this one Marine push that that TvZ did actually get a reaction out of Bly, because he's got way more Zerglings than most Zergs usually do. They'll usually get like 4, maybe 6 Zerglings. 6 is a lot. I believe most of them get 4 just to kind of get map control and deny scouts from coming in. Or yeah, for killing off scouts. But he got a lot of Zerglings, so now he has to commit to try and doing damage to TvZ's mineral line, maybe just killing 1 or 2 workers. And so in that sense, we've seen that TvZ's one Marine push did maybe force a reaction out of Bly. And so now he just needs to defend this, make sure he doesn't lose any units. And if he kills Zerglings, that's even better. Sadly, Bly does manage to, or Bly, right? Yeah, Bly does manage to get into the base. I don't know if he kills any SCVs, but he does interrupt mining time. That's not the end of the world, though. Especially not at my level, at the Diamond level. So, this is like I don't really need to talk about that. What I do need to talk about is the Hellion. We saw STC using them last time, and the Hellion is a good unit for aggression, I've decided, because it's fast. Even against Zerglings with speed, it's pretty good. And you know what? This is the wrong replay. I'm really sorry. Hold on, let me quit that and go to the right replay. This is a replay I'd looked at, and Bly ended up doing some aggression against, after that Zergling aggression, he goes and tries some Roach aggression, which TvZ manages to hold off, and then ultimately he wins the game. Yes. Here it is. I don't know why I went to the wrong replay. I'm sorry. But hopefully you got something out of this that first replay that I showed with Liquid TvZ. The one Marine push was good because it forced Zerglings out of our Zerg opponent, and that's what you kind of want, because it's money spent on Zerglings, not on drones. So, blast through this. That's my schedule. You guys don't want to look at that. So, once again, we see... So, this game is against Stefano. Stefano, good Zerg, as everyone knows, won the European World Champion, or European Championship. I don't remember what tournament exactly that is. But he's a good Zerg. That's all you need to know. And TvZ recently won... I don't remember. But he's good. And he's on Team Liquid. And... yeah. So, just quick note, this Overlord scouting in from, first of all, the direction it's coming in from and how early it's coming. We can TvZ can already tell, oh, Stefano's over here, because it's it is impossible for Zerg to be way over here and send in the Overlord at 2 minutes and 50 seconds, at least on this map. And little timings like that are kind of helpful sometimes just to know. just because it makes scouting easier, and you can get into your opponent's base quicker and theoretically at least make more reads. So he comes in here. From the timing, he can tell that the hatchery came before the spawning pool, but he went for command center before he went for barracks, so he probably won't be able to do this one marine push just because Zerglings will already be out, or could theoretically already be out. It could be that Stefano, as he is doing, is going to play more greedy. So since we don't really know that, we're going to have to just sit back and be defensive. Stefano spreading overlords out for all Zergs. This is definitely something you want to do. So here, once again, we see the Zerg style that I've said I have problems with and what I've liked to learn an aggressive style against, which is quick third before layer, before even, in this case, any queens are out. Oh no, wait, there are 2 queens. What am I talking about? So as Tasia, we don't know this yet. All we know is that he's really fast, and that all we've seen are these 2 hatcheries and the spawning pool. We don't even know when, if there's any when gas has been taken. Because of this, it's usually safe to assume that the second your SCV leaves, that is theoretically when he's throwing down a gas. And so yeah, it's I believe it's, well, let's see here. Let's go back. It is 110 seconds for metabolic boost, and then it is 30 seconds to build an extractor, and then how long? I believe it's another minute to mine 100 gas from 1 extractor. I don't know how much it is to mine from 2. He seems to mine from 2. So where was I going with this? So you need to at least account for spawning pool timing, that it takes 110 seconds for metabolic boost to even be upgraded. So from scouting no gas, you can assume, okay, you can at the very least assume 30 seconds to build an extractor plus another 110 to build metabolic boost. That's already 140 seconds, plus, let's say, I don't know how much time it takes to mine. Let's say 20 seconds. It's probably not right, but figure out how long it takes. And then we can say, oh, okay, so from scouting the no gas, we can say if we scouted at 5 minutes, then 140 plus 20, 160. So 2 minutes later, after that, we can assume that he has speed at the earliest. And so any attack before then is good, quote unquote, because Zergs don't have speed yet, and we can retreat with our Marines or kite the Zergs. And we don't have to worry about any other Zergling or any other Zerg things like roaches or banelings, because he went for early. Because actually I don't know if I can say that, so I'm not going to say it. So Tasia here is doing kind of what we saw STC do last time. However, he scouted he first of all scouted the base, which STC didn't do. He saw the timings in that he didn't see any gas. I don't know if he didn't scout this one, but most likely he can assume no gas when he scouted. So I don't know when he scouted though, but he can say the reason he's doing this push is because he can say that there is no metabolic boost yet, which he'd be right in guessing. And he's just been pumping Marines this whole time. And he has enough Marines that he doesn't really need a bunker or anything like that. And Stefano, because he's really good, manages to cancel this just in time. And then he has enough Marines that he can kill a queen, but this is kind of wasteful. I don't think I like this. Just because Zergling's speed came up just as he was kind of pushing. If he had kind of run away, I think he could have gotten away with those Marines and saved them. But he's denied the third, which is good. He, in the meantime, has had his own third building. So if we're taking notes now, actually, that's probably a good idea. Let's pull out a notepad, or I guess I forgot to mention this earlier, but it's nice to have, while you're watching replays, to have a notepad or a Word document or any of those other things that you can write, or like just a regular pen and paper, so that you can just kind of write down timings that you notice and like little observations. So I'm going to show you what I have, things we notice for Zerg. So what I have here is I have a notepad, and on the top I have two sections. The first is observations, so just kind of like general things that I notice that I want to remember. And the second is Zerg timings, so time of the third layer, time of pressures or all-ins. Here I wrote down like the Zergling speed stuff. And then I kind of organize it by time, so it's a little easier to see. I've seen some people also use like Excel spreadsheets are nice. Anyway, so he's building this third while he was being aggressive at the third of Stefano here. So that's why he was being aggressive. He was gaining an economic lead. To once again go back to what I've been talking about, he was gaining an economic lead, he was implementing a macro strategy behind his aggression, or he was getting ahead economically through his aggression. That's what I'm trying to say, okay? And so here we have Hellions, which, as I said earlier, good because they're fast, even against speed Zerglings. And so why is this good? It's relatively late in the game. We saw our opponent push up here when we denied the third. We saw our opponent push up here with two queens, and usually what that means is they have two queens to spare, or they have at least a queen to spare. So a third queen, and then the queen from the queen from the expansion, which usually means that creep spread is going to be good, and it's already almost 10 minutes in the game. So even if there's no mass queen, creep spread is still going to be relatively good. And so he's going here. First, he's canceling what he can. This Banshee, I didn't notice last game, but we see he's not going for Cloak Field. I think the reason for this is it's like I said before, it's relatively late in the game, so there's a high chance that Zerg has the tech to get detection. So he's already got his Evo chamber here, so it's relatively easy for Zerg to get detection up. So it would be more or less a waste of money to get cloak, but he only has queens to defend air, or he only has queens as far as surface to air defense goes. So plus these Hellions, he can attack a Zerg that is most likely spread out because he's got this third. I don't know if he's scouted it yet. No, he hasn't scouted it, but there's a high chance, since Stefano only canceled this, that he took this third again. And so Tasia can spread out his opponent with about to be 2 Banshees and these Hellions. So Hellions can deny creep, and then the Banshees can kind of swoop around here, try and take out workers, which would put a wrench in his opponent's economy. And since units are trying to be back here, trying to deal with these Banshees, these Hellions have more free reign against creep tumors. At most, what they're going to have to deal with is Banelings or Zerglings, which they have in a relatively decent number like this, or a high chance of being able to just deal with. Yeah, but of course here, Pedro manages to kill the queen, but he's just kind of idling around because he's trying not to die or lose his Hellions against all these Zerglings and Banelings. But now we see I believe he's gonna go in and I don't know, but okay. So, if you're writing down in your notes, the reason I said this kind of or why I think this kind of Banshee Hellion aggression around 10 minutes to, I think it was till like 11 minutes when he pulled back with his Hellions, is good is because he can deny creep. The only things that are going to be able to kill the Banshees at this point in the game are queens. So if he's going in attacking drones with the Banshees, the queens have to pull back, and so there's not really a unit that's super strong against Hellions. So the Hellions can come in, kill creep tumors, and all I have to worry about is the Zerglings. Just to kind of reiterate what I just said, in hopefully a more plain fashion. All the while, behind this aggression, we see now, I believe that TvZ is actually getting his first, this is his first siege tank. Earlier in the show, I said that the bomber style gets siege tanks really quick for defense. And at this point, by the 12-minute mark, we would have way more siege tanks than just one. However, TvZ spent a lot of money on Hellions, on Banshees, on this kind of, the Marine aggression here wasn't really that expensive, but on these kind of aggressive pushes. And so he hasn't had the money for a factory and siege tank and siege mode and all the other things that come with that, or even for combat shield. I don't know if he's just, but he has stim, and that's all for his Marines, plus 1/1. Yes. There's the Banshee, and so here we see him kind of going in one direction, and then the Hellions are way over here, kind of holding this, gonna try and poke the queen, and behind this, so he's got, okay, Banshee aggression is good. And so, okay, here's kind of just a good move that I think TvZ does, and is kind of accentuates this spreading out technique that he does with his aggression. So his main force with the 1, 2, 3, 4 siege tanks here, and the Marines, and the 1/1 upgraded Marines with stim, which hopefully combat shield will finish soon. I believe he waits here kind of for combat shield to finish and then kind of moves forward. So he moves in. Once again, he is denying creep. You've seen that throughout the game. He's been scanning here, trying to deny creep, killing off creep tumors, because creep tumors they give Zerg vision, they give Zerg units speed, which makes it easier for them to surround your units and stuff like that. Anyway, he's doing this drop here at the 4th of Stefano, while he's pushing forward here with his main force. So what it's doing is he's dropping his unit. What he's I believe his thought process here is he's dropping his units here, trying to pull back as many Zerg units as possible while pushing forward with his main force so that he can siege up a little closer to the base, a little farther onto creep. And behind this, he's of course expanding. He needs to do something with this soon. And even when this gets denied, you saw like these massive Zerglings and Infestors come up here. He just pulls up, pulls back, and a few minutes later tries to drop again. Sadly, these Banelings totally denied that. He denies creep spread here. Good. He pulls back, and I guess his plan here was he didn't see a big army here, so he wanted to pull around here and maybe try and kill this fourth off, because he's already done a fair amount of damage to it. But we see the danger of that, which is getting surrounded, just kind of willy-nilly unsieging and trying to do damage. But he manages to kill off the majority of the army with his resources, or with his reinforcements. And yeah, at this point, I don't think there's much. The game is, as you can see, much longer. But those are kind of like, those are the main points that I kind of wanted to point out from TvZ's play. The first one was the like aggressive kind of opening that his style had, which is first he had the Marines to try and deny the third, then he had the Hellions and the Banshees trying to deny creep spread and spread out the Zerg, deny creep spread basically, and to make this easier, he made Banshees he made Banshees which he could have used to spread out his Zerg. He didn't actually in that game, but I think it's safe to say that that is something he could have done. I'm not going to say he should have done it, but he could have done it like that. What else? And then his first push that happened, where we saw him dropping at the fourth while at the same time sieging up with his main force along the right lane, and sieging right up onto creep, and even a little bit onto creep, and kill creep tumors again, and try to kill off the fourth, or kill drones. So what have we learned from this? I think I took notes on this earlier, so let's see. From watching this one replay, and then kind of what we know, what we've also kind of learned from Zerg timings, so timings like when do certain all-ins, actually that one's not as important, timings like speed's a big one. Speed is the upgrade that basically gives the Zerg control of the map with their Zerglings until you get something like Hellions, or a large army of Marines with stim and combat shield, and maybe even medevacs to deal with those Zerglings. Anyway, like I was saying, speed is kind of what gives Zerg the ability to control the map. So the the Marines in the beginning were good because there was no speed yet. We denied the third, and there was no creep spread, as we saw, and it's, as far as I know, it's impossible to get creep spread all the way to your third until then, so we don't need to worry about, even slow Zerglings on creep are a little scary even without speed, and obviously queens on creep are really scary. And so then we pull back with those Marines. The Hellions were good because, why were the Hellions good? Well, they were good because speed was up, so we can't really do anything with our slow, unupgraded Marines, but we can do stuff with Hellions. They're fast, they're good against Zerglings. The only thing they're not really good against is the queens. Um, which TvZ here, he got he got banshees to try and deal with that. And so then he uses the hell. He also, another important thing I want to point out, when he had the Hellions, he didn't try to go into the third again and like 4GG style kind of sacrifice all the Hellions in order to kill a few, or not a few, but to kill drones. Instead, he keeps them. He uses them to kill off Zerglings, to kill off creep tumors, most importantly, and kind of keep the Zerg busy and spread the Zerg out so that the Banshees can do damage to the drones. And then the final one that I've like kind of highlighted is the dropping at the fourth and the main push. That's good because it also spreads out the Zerg. The Zerg has to defend the fourth while at the same time he's got this fourth he's got this big army that's kind of pushing forward. So now that we've kind of looked at aggressive play and seen what it looks like, we can. I'm going to look at replays of mine. I'm going to look at one replay since I think I'm going a little over actually. I want to finish soon. I'm going to look at one of my replays really quick, just to kind of show my attempts at trying to be aggressive. My attempts at aggression in TvZ, and you can also kind of get a glimpse of how my build opens, and I'll try to explain some of my thought process during the game. So here's my opponent, Z's Penguin. He's actually a friend of mine. And this is me, clueless, because I'm clueless. Yeah, so Z's Penguin giving me good advice because he's better than me. He is. Here we saw STC and TvZ like kind of hide their first barracks. I'm paranoid, so I usually kind of block off again, especially at least in TvZ, and especially on a smaller-ish map like this, where the Zerg doesn't necessarily need to scout where you are. I try and block this off as quickly as possible before I even get my expansion, just to try and defend. I don't think you can defend against a drone rush, but against or a 6-pool, but anything more than a 6-pool you can defend against. So here I scout. I always scout with my 14th. So on 15, or no wait, this is around 14-15 supply. When it says 14-15 supply up here, I scout with an SCV. I try to grab the watchtower, and at least on this map, and then I'll see the expansion of the hatchery, and I go in and I see, oh, late spawning pool, okay, no gas so far, okay, early hatchery, so don't need to worry about speed for a while, about 2 minutes I believe from the time of scouting here. We don't need to worry about speed for another 2 minutes. I hide my SCV up here. Some people do different things. Some pros will do different things. So I noticed something that I should have done the whole time. Health bars. Some pros will hide their SCV and then try and run in again and try and get another count for the gas. My thought process here of hiding the SCV was not to get a gas count, but instead to get a third expansion count, try and see when he was getting his third. Yeah, okay. I'm supposed to have 3 Marines with, yeah, okay, so I have 3, oh, there's the third Marine. So I have 3 Marines. My friend still hasn't gone for metabolic boost, so he's going for a really late metabolic boost, but I don't know that. I can't know that. Anyway, I see this hatchery. I'm pretty sure, in retrospect here, I am pretty sure that there is a way to scout, like when the third comes down, and then make, I can only say at best an assumption how late metabolic boost is, but I can't do that. So anyway, with this build, with the bomber build, anyone that knows it knows that you do this first you build a reactor on the barracks, and then you float it over and you put the factory on it, and then while the factory is building Hellions, you're building a tech lab with the barracks, and then you switch those around again. Usually what I've been doing with the bomber build for as long as I can remember is I've only been getting 2 Hellions, and then I switch the barracks and the factory back as quickly as possible so I can start getting siege tanks in siege mode. This is kind of like the macro defensive minded focus, because I want to get the siege tanks up as quickly as possible for Roachling all in, some kind of Roachling bling all in, because for a while that was really popular, and on 2 bases, if he's going 2 bases, he will get his Roachling bling right all in right as you're finishing your second siege tank and while your siege mode is finishing. But the problem with doing it as an aggressive style is that this early third is up. I've even scouted it, I believe. Yeah, I've scouted this early third, so I know. So there's no way he can do that kind of early aggression. So these siege tanks, although it is good because in theory, because you're getting lots of siege tanks for your eventual big push, it's taking away from your aggression because you're spending money on defensive units. For those of you that know the bomber build, you know that these are the only 2 units or unit producing structures you have until you throw down a third CC. Before even the barracks 3 and 4 here, you throw down a third CC, and then you start getting barracks 3 and 3, 4, and starport and engineering bay for upgrades. Another problem with getting only 2 Hellions here is, in theory, you can deny creep, but ultimately the problem is it's only 2 Hellions. What are they gonna do? Once Zerg gets speed for Zerglings, I'm gonna be in trouble. And yeah, I can't really do any damage with them. So in retrospect, I would say I need some sort of way to get more Marines earlier in the game to try and hamper the third, put pressure onto it, or and then get Hellions a little bit later so that creep spread can come out a little bit. Zerg will be a little bit more spread out. My friend goes for a really weird, like super mass queen style. But it works well against me. Anyway, more creep spread so we can deny. So Zerg will be more spread out so we can push around and deny it easier. I say that tentatively. And we get the Hellions a little bit later so that we can have more Marines early on. And of course, not spend money on siege tanks, because we don't need to worry about any kind of all-in if he's going for a macro strategy. at this point, yeah, and then I'm going to do a push eventually. I wanted to try and do like a low bit, like I guess you could call this a timing push that most lower leaguers will try to do, which is just try, like something that a lot of people will say is try and get an upgrade. So I tried to get stim here, try and get an upgrade, and then right when you get this upgrade, push. And at lower leagues, that's great advice. Definitely what you want to be doing. However, at higher leagues, I'm in diamond, so I'm in high-ish. I wouldn't say I'm a high league, but high-ish leagues like diamond. These kinds of pushes where you're just trying, or timing pushes where you're just going for an upgrade you have without any consideration for what your opponent is doing, is bad, or is not bad, but is less effective, because you're not taking into consideration what your opponent is doing, what he has, what he doesn't have. So I'm going for this stim timing. I get Marauders, and I go for Marauder Marine, and then I get a Medevac. And the idea behind the Marauders is they absorb damage well. I had already played a game with my friend, so I knew he was getting a fair amount of queens. So I wanted the Marauders to kind of absorb damage and be able to kill queens, and also absorb damage from the Zerglings. And so then I pull my 2 Hellions in here as well. My friend has like a lot of overlords floating around, and I go here and I try and kill them off, and in retrospect I'm not sure that's a good idea, because with timings you want to do them as quickly as possible so that your opponent doesn't get a lead on you. Another thing you'll notice is I don't spend money on, or I don't spend energy on scans to try and deny these creep tumors, which is also bad. I eventually come in here and I like scan here, I think, and kill these creep tumors off, but that's kind of like useless, I think. I kill off but at this point, as you can see, my opponent's economy, third base, is already basically kicked in. He has, whoa, so many queens. He has a bunch of Zerglings. They have speed, I want to say. Yeah, they have speed. All I have is this puny little force of Marines with a few Marauders, 1 Medevac, stim, no upgrades, and the consequences, as you can see, are me dying pretty badly. Well, not pretty badly. I managed to kill almost all the Zerglings, which actually in retrospect is probably bad. Yeah, so with that, you can kind of see just how bad this is. Or not necessarily how bad, but how I tried to implement kind of my early stages of how I tried to implement a an aggressive strategy, but didn't do it effectively enough because I wasn't taking into account what my opponent was doing, which is what ultimately this was kind of I'm trying to learn from. What kind of aggression can I do when I'm taking my opponent into consideration. So with that, I think I'm done. I've gone over. So like I said before, this is my first show, so I'm still trying to work out everything. I was really bumpy this show with explaining things, and I kind of labored over points a little bit more than I think I should have. But any feedback, please send that to clueless.sc@gmail.com on things I need to change about the stream. I do thank you for tuning in. Favorite me on Twitch, follow me on YouTube. I'm going to be posting these videos onto YouTube. I guess a quick overview for this week. So on tomorrow, I'm going to be doing another show from 5 to 6, where I'm going to be practicing my TvZ aggression. I'm going to play 3-4 games. We'll see how long they last. Depending on how long they last, I'm going to try and make it like an hour-long show. So I'm going to practice my TvZ aggression, just like basic kind of like rearranging of my build order, my bomber style build order, to account for early game aggression. Tuesday, also 5 to 6, I'm going to basically do the same, or sorry, Thursday, also 5 to 6, I'm going to do the same thing I did on Tuesday, which is learning aggression. At this point, hopefully my strategy and the order in which I do things is a little bit more fleshed out, so I'll be able to focus more on other things like keeping my money low, reading my opponent correctly, those sorts of things. Then Friday, which is that is from 8 to 9. From 8 to 9 on Friday, I'm going to be playing with Zeus's Penguin, actually, who I just showed the replay of, and we're going to be stress testing my aggression build, trying to see how it does against, or seeing how not necessarily stress testing the aggression build, but stress testing me, seeing how I should react in TvZ when my opponent is doing early pressure or all-ins or something like that. And then Saturday from 2 to 3 will be free play, where I'm playing with Zeus's Penguin, and we're just going to be doing free play, and I'll be going either my macro strategy or my aggressive strategy based on what my opponent is doing. Yeah, so that is all. Thanks for tuning in. I don't think there's anything else to mention. Let me see. Let me pull up my schedule for the day. Yeah, so that's all. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.